Welcome to episode 1 of the Zen Sessions presented by Hida Zen Magazine, our new way for the Hida Zen team to connect with you all. We look forward to bringing you exciting and fresh content, so make sure you subscribe to get all of our new episodes. And while you're at it, don't forget to like our Facebook, our Twitter and Instagram pages for exclusive content in the future. For our first episode, we will be joined by the amazing Kate Miller Heidki. The internationally acclaimed Brisbane singer-songwriter releases her 5th studio album, Child in Reverse, today on October 30. It's her first pop-oriented album in 6 years and possibly her most pop album yet. It features 11 shots of every emotion available, mixed with great melodies, and Hayley and I are going to chat about the album, the songs, and the artist herself. And then you'll hear our interview with Kate. Thanks for joining us on this new adventure. We look forward to bringing you more great features in the future. Compared to all the pop stuff that's out, where it all sounds the same. It's all, here's the verse, here's the chorus, here's the verse, here's the chorus. When I was listening to it, there was no rhyme or reason to a song.
No, and I think that her music has always had that sort of undertone to it. I think that because her voice is so crazy and can hit so many different levels, that there's always so many changes throughout the songs that they're not just your ordinary verse, chorus type songs. I like that.
Do you think that comes from her theatre and opera background?
I actually think it comes from the fact that she's just a bit eclectic as a person. I don't think it particularly comes from her musical background. I think it is just who she is. I don't think she could make a song that was just, well, not a whole album of songs that were just, choruses and verses. I don't think she could do that.
And I know that we talk a lot about how you connect a lot with lyrics and I connect a lot with melody. I actually found I really hit a lot of the lyrical content this time, which is why I still maybe need a couple of more listens, because sometimes when I listen to songs, I always try to work out the meaning rather than just it is what it is.
Yeah.
And she's pretty deep, but she doesn't make it sound like she's going deep, if you know what I mean. It just happens.
I agree with that. I think the lyrics are very deep, but the music on this album is very poppy, and there's a lot of electro undertone to it, which I really like. But I think it gives it this different feel. While she covers some really serious topics, she does it in a way that's embracing and engaging, and it's a lot of fun in the seriousness of it.
And do you think that's probably more a reflection of now, 2020, everything is so serious? Do you reckon that's had anything to do with it?
I don't know, because I don't think that any of the songs really discuss that. I mean, it could definitely be assumed that This Is Not Forever was about COVID, but it's not. She wrote that about somebody that she knows and cares about that was going through mental health, and basically just wanted to say, you're not alone. I get it. I've been there, but I can help you carry this load if you need a hand. And it just so happened that the time it was released was in that time of COVID. So it's, if people can't relate to the actual meaning of the song, they'll probably find it relatable in terms of what they've gone through during lockdown and things like that, especially people in Melbourne. So I think that's cool too, because I don't in Kate's social media, when she's talked about things like that, she's not opposed to the fact that people might relate to that as well, that they might not relate to what the actual meaning of the song is. And I think that's pretty cool. I think as an artist, you've got to be kind of versatile in that, one meaning is not for everybody, and that people will always take away different things from your songs. You took away something completely different from one of the songs.
I know that I talked to her a bit about Little Roots, Little Shoots.
That's the one. You took away something totally different to what I did from Little Roots and Little Shoots. So you thought it was about people being deceitful and stuff, yeah?
Just about sort of be careful about all the things that you do in the now because you never know what those little things might grow into in the future, and they might be something that you can't control. Like for me, like the little shoots to me could end up becoming weeds, and the weeds that they can kill the beautiful things because of the way that you planted them.
Yeah, and I guess my thoughts on it weren't overly different then. I guess I just saw it slightly differently that, maybe if you keep shoving stuff under the rug, eventually it all starts to, bubble up and overflow.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, interesting that, similar thoughts on it, but come from two different angles as well.
Yeah. And that's the thing, like, I guess for me, because the little roots is where it starts, and the little shoots is where it sort of ends up. And you never know where things could end up, and you've got to be prepared that when they get there, you might not be able to control them. I guess that's what I took from it, and it's unusual for me to sort of think that far in advance, because I'm normally too busy bopping my head to the melody.
Yeah.
And like that's the one thing. Like again, I'm big on that melody stuff, but the one thing I did take out of it is that there is so many different melodies throughout, and even in some of the songs, there's melodies that change within the song. And as someone that isn't familiar with like her work, I got a bit of a better understanding of why we sent her to Eurovision.
Yes.
Because she is more of a international artist rather than in the box.
Oh, definitely. Australian gold. I mean, not everybody can sing like that. Not anybody can compile songs in that way. Not everybody can do what Kate Miller Heidki can do. She has a pretty special voice, a pretty special talent. And I think that's why, that she must be 12, 13 years on in her career since she became big, that she's still able to, release hugely successful albums. And I think that's because she does have something really unique and really special. And I think this album showcases it brilliantly, her different range, her different emotion, how she can take something so serious and put her little twist on it. I think this album is a beautiful showcase of that. I really, really actually quite enjoy it.
It's a shame that Rod couldn't join us, because he was talking a lot about her opera stuff, so he connected with that, and it would have been interesting to have his take on it. But yeah, like I listened to the album, and it's a grower for me. Like I remember the first time I listened to it, because I was like an open book. I didn't know much about it and about her, and I knew she went to Eurovision. I knew she did like the Masked Singer and all the sort of pressy sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And then you sort of backtrack and you realise that there's been times where you've heard her song and you haven't realised it was her song.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you go, okay, so I would have heard that and not even realised it was her. And then how serious in one hand she takes her songs, but in the other hand she's got a fair amount of tongue-in-cheek too. And I think she balances it really well. Like this album seems really balanced, and I don't think she tried.
Oh, look.
It just worked that way.
Yeah, who knows if she tried or if it just worked fantastically, but I think it balanced beautifully. I think it takes you on a pretty remarkable journey, actually. You start with You Can't Hurt Me Anymore, and it sets a fantastic tone for the album. It's raw and it's powerful and it's honest, and it says things that I guess people probably think but don't say, and I think that sets a great tone for the beginning of this album, because there is a lot of things that you know, a lot of topics that are covered on this album that people don't talk about, you know. Children of Divorce. What a great song. Like, who, I don't know that, you know, a lot of people in the world would write a song about being a child of divorce and the effects that that still has on you as an adult. And for me, listening to it, I got two very perspectives and two very different feels from it. One was that I was really thankful to grow up in a whole family where, you know, my parents were always together, still are. But my children don't have that same experience. You know, they're growing up in a family um, with divorce and separation, and I think about the effects that that has on them and how that will affect them as adults. And this song really got me thinking about that. And I liked that, you know, I liked that it prompted thought and made me think, you know, more about that side of it rather than, I guess, how it just affects me. But how does it affect your children? I mean, we think about it, but not how it affects them later on, I guess, so much. And I like that she talked about that in this song. You know, it's okay that you can still be affected as an adult by your parents' divorce, or by being a child of divorce, because it does affect you greatly. So I liked that. I thought that was a really nice, honest, truthful song on the album.
And I kind of wonder, in a weird way, if you played that song for people that do grow up in that traditional family unit, if they could actually understand that people that don't grow up in it a bit better.
Oh, and maybe they could, you know, maybe it would just prompt thought enough that you would, you know, extend a greater understanding to people. And I like that music does that, you know. If it provokes thought and allows you to learn something or explore something on a different level, isn't that part of the reason we listen to music?
Yeah.
So I think that's pretty cool.
Like what are those other songs that sort of jump out for you?
Oh, look, on the same line of children of divorce, I think that there was a little bit of a journey into Kate's childhood. I mean, the album's called Child in Reverse, and, you know, 12-year-old me, she's basically apologizing to herself as a little girl for being hard on herself or for listening to what people said about her that might not have been true. And I think that it's a really relatable song for all women, probably for all people, you know, to look back and go, wow, like, as a 12-year-old, what was I going through? What was I beating myself up about? Because now, whatever that was, is seemingly so insignificant, you know, that she's reassuring herself as a child, you know, it will all be okay, you're going to be fine. And I really like that, you know, it's a hug to your younger self.
Yeah, I kind of thought about that. I listened to it again just before,
Mm,
and I kind of thought, you know, for all those 12-year-old girls that are like about to go to high school
yeah.
and stuff like that, maybe they should worry about telling these girls less about what's in a book and maybe just play the song.
Maybe just play the song, maybe play a lot of the songs.
Yeah, you know, like, but just play that one especially and just say to them, there's only so much you're going to learn in this book, and there's nothing wrong with being at school and learning those things, but you're going to get to a point where it's all on you,
Mm,
and those books can't help you anymore.
no. I felt like the song was giving me and my inner child a big hug. It's a nice song. It was a nice feeling. Do you have a favorite on the album?
It's actually that song.
Oh, is it? There you go. There you go. I have three, I think. I I mean, I like the album from start to finish. Like I said, I think it takes you on a really good journey. But Hectic Glitter, definitely one of my favorites.
Yeah,
Um, you know, for me, it's talking about giving your all to somebody and being more than skin deep. You know,
yeah,
being willing to be that honest with yourself, with other people, and it's fun. It makes me want to dance. Half the album makes me want to dance. For it's such serious content in some of the songs, the little funky tones through it just make me want to dance the whole time it's on. It's pretty cool. I like Born Lucky, one of my favorites. Again, I just want to dance, but the lyrical makeup of it, she jumps from, you know, one key to another and just takes you on a journey with her voice inside of that song. With the lyrics matched with her voice, it's a remarkable journey. It feels like it addresses mental health again, and it's talking about how you can still be loved while you're going through the hardest times in your life. And it's so relatable. I think a lot of people will relate to Born Lucky. I think it's a very, very well written, well delivered song. Very, very good.
Then you got a song like People Pleaser, which is more kind of Europop. What did you take on that?
Yeah, I definitely get the Europop sense as well. It makes me want to dance, that's for sure. As soon as it comes on. I love the lyrics. I love the composition of the whole song. I love how different it is from any other song on the album. Um, there's a bit in the song where she stops singing and she almost speaks and she says, I can't be a people pleaser anymore. And it's like she's taking control back of her life. And I thought it was really empowering, and just, it's a great song. Don't be so hard on yourself. We are who we are. I think they're fantastic lyrics. The really, really powerful, really uplifting song.
She said she normally doesn't do collaboration, so what do you think of Simpatico?
Simpatico. I love it. It gets stuck in your head. It's got a really great sound to it, but the lyrics are sad for such an engaging song. It's like Simpatico. I mean, that's a great connection and ability to get along with somebody. And I think in this song, she's talking about missing that. She's missing somebody or missing that connection with somebody. And I think it's quite sad for what sounds and feels like such an uplifting song. I think there's a message hidden deep within it that gets you thinking, gets your emotions sort of engaged.
Do you think that by her having almost upbeat music with sad lyrics, it can sometimes take a little more to understand the song, though?
I think maybe it can, but I think that's where her varied lyrical ability comes into it. Because I think that when she changes her keys and her tones and she goes into those operatic high notes that she does, when she does that in a song, it can take your thought and your feeling in a complete different direction. And I think Simpatico does this. I think People Pleaser does this. I think that you go on this journey within the song. So you might start off feeling one thing, but you end up feeling another. And if you're really paying attention to the lyrics on the way, you might even feel another thing. And I think that just comes back to that beauty of music, and that everybody has their own interpretation of every song that they're hearing. And I think that Kate Miller Heidki's music as a whole can give you that. You can get so many different things out of each song, each album. And it just is a testament to how talented she really is. My favorite song on this album is the song that closes out the album. And I think it fits perfectly at the end of the album. It just ties everything up in a neat little bow. But A Quiet Voice, it's just my favorite. Listen to yourself through all the chaos going on in your life, through all of the outside influence and people telling you what to do, what not to do. Listen to yourself. Don't let your voice be hidden or lost in amongst all of that. I think, again, let's play this one to 12-year-old girls, 12-year-old boys. Play it to everybody, and get that feeling that it's okay to follow your thoughts and your dreams without being influenced by everything that's going on around you. And I think that given the journey this album takes you on, it really fits so perfectly at the end to tie it all up and finish it off. Did you think the last song was good?
I think, like you said, it's like a bookend.
Yeah.
And sometimes when you listen to music, you listen to an album and you wonder why it stops the way it did. It's almost like they ran out of songs.
Yeah.
With this album, it's almost actually like you reached the last page in the book.
Yeah.
So I think she's done a really good job, not just with the songs, but how she chose to sequence the album,
Yeah,
because
I think
she's
so.
told the story,
Yeah.
and you don't feel it's unended. It's actually got a pretty defined ending as an album.
Yeah, I think it does. I think it's a culmination of all of the little messages and lessons throughout the album.
But
I think it just brings it all together in the end.
well, while it feels like it ends, the one thing that I took away every time I've done the album all the way through, which for any artist is the most difficult thing for me to do, is to go front to back.
Mm.
And I don't know if she is planning this or anything, but while the album comes to an end, to me, it almost feels like this whole album is the beginning of something.
Yeah, look, I get a little bit of that sense as well. I think that it's been a couple of years since she's released an album, and I think this might be a little bit of an introduction on what's to come. I reckon she's probably still got some stuff brewing.
Today on the Zen Sessions with Here to Zen, we have Kate Miller Heidki. Thanks for joining us, Kate.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, so we're like a week away from a release. How does it feel for an artist when you get into that sort of last week, last couple of days before an album drops? What are your feelings leading up to it?
Look, it's nerve-wracking and exciting in equal measure. It's a bit weirder this time around because usually at this point I'd be rehearsing with the band and kind of getting live versions of these new songs together and we'll be getting ready to go on the road. And so it definitely feels different this time around, but really nervous and happy.
Great, and it's your first album since 2014. So when some artists sit down to record a new album, some have a catalogue, some write specifically for that album. What's your process with songwriting?
Oh, look, it's constantly changing, but I think the one constant is that each sort of body of work I do is a reaction against the previous thing. And with this record, it was the first time that I've ever opened myself up to collaboration, making pop music in the traditional way of kind of being thrown together in a room with people who you may or may not know and encouraged to come up with a song in a day. And that was the kind of process that I was always sort of suspicious of and scared of, I think, in retrospect. So yeah, I had a few false starts with this record, kind of went off in a couple of different directions, and nothing was really sticking or feeling right. So sort of in desperation, I signed up for a songwriting camp and just met some incredible people there, and it just opened up a whole new universe for me.
Okay, and you talk about the pop-oriented sound on the album, which I pick up. It's a very dance-oriented album. What to you makes up the perfect pop song? What are the elements?
I think there has to be. Look, I mean, obviously that there's not one particular recipe. I'm sure whatever I say now could be easily contradicted in a clinical setting. But what I love is that sad banger thing, that sort of like complex mix of different emotions that you can get with music so beautifully. You can be singing sad lyrics over a happy instrumental or vice versa, and it just sort of opens up a really interesting landscape of emotions for me. The other thing about pop music, I think, particularly nowadays, is like minimalism is such an interesting challenge, to try to keep songs to like 3 or 4 different elements. It's so hard, and it requires you to be so merciless. But if you can nail it, there's something really kind of intoxicating and it's just sweet on the ear, like it's a beautiful little cleansing ear bath. So, yeah, that's my answer. It's probably going to change tomorrow.
What were some of your favourite pop songs growing up?
Oh, man, I mean, like, I was a big Mariah Carey fan. Music Box was big in my house. Destiny's Child, Annie Lennox. I mean, a lot of Tracy Chapman. I suppose she could be considered as pop in a way. Joan Armatrading. I mean, my love of pop sort of went underground in my teenage years when I was pretending to like the Red Hot Chili Peppers and like Smashing Pumpkins and Nirvana and stuff. But I think underneath it, it's always been there, very much alive.
Sure. So, delving into the album a little bit, there's the song "This Is Not Forever." Did you write that for somebody or a particular situation?
Yes, it was written sort of as a little like an offering or like my attempt at consolation to someone I was close to who I could see falling into a depression, and I'd seen it before, and I just wanted to let them know that I was there for them. But of course, songs take different meanings in different contexts, and when the pandemic hit, this song kind of started to mean something quite different.
Sure. Now, Little Roots, Little Shoots, to me, when I listen to the song, I get a warning vibe from it saying, just be careful what you say and do because you're planting seeds that might grow into something you can't control. What were you trying to convey with the song?
Yeah, exactly that. You've got it. Like, my mother was saying to me, when she heard it, she thought that the little roots and little shoots were like shoots of hope or, promising new growth. But that's not at all. I mean, it's cool that different people hear different things, but yeah, it is like a warning. But I mean, I don't think many of us have any real defenses. It's about. I asked my stepfather what he thought like the defining characteristic of life was. He's in his 70s, and he said it was the inevitability of gradualism. And yeah, I really felt that too, especially as I get older and just see like habits compounding and neural pathways becoming so deeply engraved that it's really, really hard to change them. So that's kind of what the song's about.
And you mentioned you played some music for family, so a lot of artists do use family and friends as a litmus test. Has there been any interesting feedback for the people you played it for?
Look, I don't play it for too many people because I'm too vulnerable and insecure, and I don't want too much feedback. But my mother has always been a huge fan of mine, and it's probably one of the big reasons why I am a musician, because she encouraged me a lot when I was a kid. She always has a strong opinion on which are the best songs and which ones she doesn't like. So I always know where she stands. But generally, I just have a close circle of like trusted confidants, and it's Kia, my husband, who's been my big collaborator across my whole career, and a few people at my management, and my label, obviously.
Great. Now, everything's sort of weird, everything's on hold, but have you started penciling in things for 2021 regarding live shows and things like that?
Yeah, that whole process is happening as we speak, and there's certain things confirmed, like Blues Fest, a couple of other things I can't announce quite yet, but yeah, it's really nice to have what feels like a light at the end of the tunnel, and I miss live performance. so much. I mean, and I've got a couple of other kind of writing projects going on and theatre commissions and stuff, which is great. And it's been a nice distraction from this seemingly endless lockdown here in Melbourne. But yeah, I can't wait to get back on stage.
Perfect. And you mentioned Blues Fest, so you get to share the stage with some really great and diverse artists. How do you approach a festival setting as opposed to a headline show?
Well, normally you get a bit more leeway at my own show. I can kind of assume that people are pretty familiar with the material and kind of maybe go a little bit more, play a few more B-sides and maybe just push the envelope a bit more. Festivals usually a bit of a greatest hits type scenario, give or take. What I love about festivals is the opportunity to surprise people who may have no idea what to expect. And you get that sort of, energy from the crowd when they kind of are discovering something, which is really fun. So, I love playing both.
Great. Now, I've noticed that you're very open with your fans via social media. Do you ever get to a point where you go, I need to not be so open, or I need to not share that? Has there ever been a moment where you've thought you were going too far?
I actually don't think I am. It's interesting that you say that, but I feel like I definitely try not to overshare, and I don't sort of post as much as I used to, and I kind of have been sort of, just sort of choosing to share what I feel comfortable with, being a bit more judicious. I don't know. I can't think of any specific instances where I've regretted sharing too much. There's certain things on Twitter, like maybe I shouldn't have tweeted the C word so much because it wasn't worth it in the end. But I think I don't know. I do feel. Look, I did recently post a clip of my son singing a funny song, and it's now got over 3 million views, and he's been getting recognised in the park. People will come up, and of course I just assume that they're coming to say hi to me, but no, they don't even know who I am. I've just seen my son on the internet. So that was pretty funny that happened, but I'll probably maybe reevaluate as he gets a bit older, but I think I'm it's like a balance that you have to monitor.
Sure. And what artists are you currently listening to?
I'm listening to. I've been listening to a lot of this Scandinavian artist called Susanne Sundfør, particularly her most recent live album from the Barbican. I've been listening to quite a lot of live stuff, actually. Some older folk music, like Pete Seeger, just to feel. It's bittersweet in a way, but just to feel that energy and that spark of a live performance. It's even because I just miss being in the audience so much, and I guess I was never fully conscious until now of how much I actually relied on that as like a stabilizing force in my life, for my mental health, but just to feel connected to humanity and to feel hope for the world. So lots of live recordings, and my son, I'm kind of at his taste gets a lot of sway in my house too, so some old Sesame Street stuff and old Danny Kaye music. Some of it's really good. Yeah.
Great. And do you have any final words for our listeners?
Well, no, just congratulations on the new podcast, and I'm honoured to be the first. Thanks for having me.
Great. Okay, so we will let you go for the day, Kate. We look forward to hopefully catching you in 2021.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Thanks a lot for that.
Thank you for listening to the Zen Sessions presented by Zen magazine. If you're listening to us on YouTube, please hit the subscribe button. If you're listening on one of the podcast platforms, please subscribe there. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Thank you for listening.